Hi, I'm Mark McKillier with liveanabolic.com. And in this video, I'm going to show you 3 tricks on how to increase your body's natural production of testosterone after the age of 50. So why do we care about testosterone in the first place? Well, guys, I talk about that extensively in some other videos. You need to check those out. But just to kind of sum it all up, testosterone affects how much muscle we can put on our bodies, how well we metabolize fat. It affects our libido, our sex drive, our focus, our energy levels. Almost everything is affected by testosterone. And unfortunately, life plays a cruel trick on those guys. And we naturally produce less and less testosterone every year as we age. It's just natural. But there are some tricks we can do that actually will reverse that trend. And that's what I'm about to talk about. Now guys, tip number 1. We have to get better sleep, and we got to get a lot more sleep. Most of us are stressed out, and we're just not going to bed as quickly, and we're not getting as many hours of sleep as we need to, and there's all kinds of reasons, but we got to change that. So sleep is really important. So why though? Well, guess what? When you're fatigued and you're not getting enough sleep, your body signals your brain and says, man, I'm under stress, and your body naturally produces this hormone called cortisol. Well, guess what? When cortisol levels increase, your body can't produce as much testosterone, and boom, your testosterone levels plummet. So we've got to get more sleep, better quality sleep to increase our testosterone production and lower our cortisol levels. Sounds easy, right? We all know it's much harder to do. All right, so now I'm going to give you 5 different ways to increase the quality of your sleep. Now, tip number 1 on how to get better sleep. Guys, you got to start trying to read a little bit before you go to bed at night. 20, 30 minutes, and it helps your mind to relax, and it kind of turns that brain switch off. You can kind of just quit focusing on all your problems. Great way to go to sleep. So try reading before you go to bed. Number 2 on how to get better sleep, you got to make your room as dark as possible. And I know this may sound obvious, but a lot of people don't put forth any effort on this. So you need to get some blackout curtains, wear those sleeping masks. Man, my guys, I have those sleeping masks. I use them all the time when I take naps in the middle of the day because it's so bright outside. So sleeping masks, and get that room dark. I don't care what you have to do. You might even have to put some foil over your windows, okay, to get all that light out of there. But that really will help you. And there's tons of studies that back up all these tips I'm giving you. All right, number 3. Experiment with using ambient noise. I love it. I use my ceiling fan. I have my ceiling fan on high year round. I don't care. I'm in Texas. It's hot 7, 8 months out of the year, so it makes sense. But even in the winter, when it's freezing cold, I have my ceiling fan on. Man, that background noise just kind of puts me to sleep. I love it. But there's some other ways you can experiment with background noise. Try downloading some apps onto your smartphone. And these apps are either free or real cheap, and they allow you to play kind of background music. And you can select from different types of ambient noises, like a babbling brook, a little stream going on in the background. It could be waves crashing. It could be a rain, in a rainforest. I mean, there's all kinds of little things that you can play on your phone, and you can set it to automatically time out after 10 or 15 minutes. So experiment with that ambient background noise. Now, the 4th trick to getting better sleep is to experiment with the temperature. Now, guys, most of y'all are probably going to be like me. The colder, the better. I sleep so good when it's freezing cold in my room, and I can put all those covers over me. Kind of makes me feel secure and comfortable. Of course, that's partly what the ceiling fan is for too, to keep the temperature down as low as possible. And your girlfriends or your wives or whoever, they're going to freeze their asses off, So you're going to have to figure that out. So some of you guys may have to sleep, on top of the covers or just under one bed sheet. If you don't have to deal with the women, in your life because, they're always cold, guess why? Testosterone. The more testosterone you have, the warmer it makes you feel. So experiment with temperature. Some people, a very small percentage, don't sleep well when they're freezing cold. So, hey, that's much easier to deal with. Just stick on a pair of socks, put on a shirt, whatever, much easier. So find the temperature that works really good for you. And then finally, the 5th tip on how to get better sleep, exercise. Man, exercise, everything goes back to exercise, doesn't it? So almost any exercise is good for improving your sleep quality, but there are lots of studies out there, scientific studies, that say that actual weight training, resistance training, is the best form of exercise for improving your sleep. All right, guys, let's move on to tip number 2. You have to lose that belly fat. And I know that's easier said than done, but let me explain what's going on here. Life has kind of played a cruel joke on us once again. Fat contains an enzyme called aromatase. So what's the big deal with that? Well, guess what? Aromatase actually takes testosterone and converts it into estrogen. And estrogen is a female hormone. And guess what? Estrogen tells your body to hold on to those calories and store it as fat. So my gosh, guys, you can see how this creates a vicious, self-reinforcing kind of a downward spiral. So we put on fat, that produces aromatase, which turns what little testosterone we produce into estrogen, which tells our bodies to produce more fat. The more fat we have, the more estrogen we produce, the less testosterone. It just goes on and on and on and on downhill. So we have got to break that vicious cycle, guys. There's 2 really good ways to start losing that belly fat. First, you have to eat at a caloric deficit, and second, using high-intensity interval training, also known as HIIT. All right, so eating in a caloric deficit is pretty easy to explain. So you need to know how many calories your body naturally burns on just an average day, day in and day out, and that's pretty easy to calculate. You can get a rough approximation. Take your body weight in pounds, multiply it by 15, and that's roughly how many calories you burn on an average day. Then you just got to eat fewer calories than you burn every day, and it needs to be consistent, guys. So figuring out how many calories you need to eat requires you to do some work. You actually got to keep track of everything you put in your mouth, write it down, figure out how many calories or what you put in your mouth, and then make sure that math adds up. Typically, I like to recommend people eat about 500 calories less per day than they burn. That's a really good, easy way to comfortably lose and slowly lose and permanently lose that body fat. Now, high intensity interval training, or HIIT. Guys, tons of studies out there show that type of exercise, and I'm going to call it sprinting, even though it's not necessarily running a sprint. I mean, high intensity interval training or sprinting aerobics can be something where you get on a stationary bike and pedal as hard as you can for 30 seconds and then rest for a few minutes and then do it all over again. And it doesn't have to be a stationary bike. It can be an elliptical machine where you push and pedal as hard as you can for 30 seconds, or get on a rowing machine for 30 seconds. And there's just lots of different, you can run up stairs or up a steep slope as hard as you can for 20 to 30 seconds. Anything that just gets you completely, totally exhausted and builds up a lot of lactic acid in your body in a real short period of time, then you catch your breath for several minutes and then you repeat it over and over again. That is high intensity interval training. And it creates a situation where you have, not only are you just burning calories during that brief time period, but it actually sends signals to your brain to ramp up production of testosterone, because it's seeing all this, short-term stress, and your body says it needs testosterone to help rebuild these muscles that you were working so hard. So that is high-intensity interval training. So those are 2 great ways to lose that belly fat. And then finally, remember how I was talking about that self-reinforcing downward spiral? Well, it works the other way too. We can create a self-reinforcing upward spiral. So what happens? When we start to lose some belly fat, we produce less aromatase, which means we produce less estrogen, which means we hold on to a bigger percentage of the testosterone that our body makes. And when we have more testosterone, guess what happens? We build more muscle, and your body is more efficient at metabolizing fat. And guys, that's one reason why it's easier for us to lose fat and build muscle than it is for women, because women have far less testosterone and far more estrogen. And so even a really fit woman is going to have a higher body fat percentage than a really fit guy. And that is because of testosterone. So that is critical that you guys understand that. Okay, that brings me to my 3rd and final tip, guys. You have to strength train. It's also called resistance training, or lifting weights, or lifting your body weight. Doesn't matter. You got to do it. So why do we need to do that to increase our testosterone? Well, guys, it's really kind of straightforward. When you put a lot of stress on your muscle fibers, i.e. lifting weights, lifting your body weight, we actually damage our muscle fibers. We create millions and millions of tiny little microscopic tears in those muscle fibers. They're hurting. So what happens is your brain knows this and it sends signals to your body to ramp up production of testosterone because it uses testosterone partly to help repair those damaged muscle fibers. So the more we break down the muscles, the more they get repaired and grow back. So what your body does is it slightly overcompensates when it repairs those muscle fibers. So when they come back after a few days rest, they're actually just a tiny bit bigger and a tiny bit stronger than they were before. And then we just repeat that cycle over and over and over again. And guess what? That's why your muscles grow. So it's because we're doing it often and because it increases our testosterone production. So guys, I don't care if you go to the gym to resistance train or if you do it at home. Your muscles don't know the difference, but you have to do this on a regular basis. Now, one of the secrets to strength training is using compound exercises. Now, this is important, and it's been shown in tons of different studies, guys, is because when we use a compound exercise, we're actually using multiple muscle groups at the same time. And that puts more stress on our body, and it sends more signals to our brain to produce more testosterone, and hence more muscle growth, and it goes on and on and on. That's this great self-reinforcing upward spiral that I've been talking about. So, guess what the biggest muscle groups in our body are? Your legs. Right down here. Everybody wants to work our upper body. They're smaller muscle groups. They don't hurt as much when we work them, okay? That's why everybody likes to skip leg day. So legs are actually the most important muscle group in your entire body. And when you work your legs hard and frequently, that is literally the best way to increase your body's natural production of testosterone, because most leg exercises incorporate compound movements or compound exercises. So it's kind of a win-win. We're using really big muscle groups and we're using multiple muscles at the same time when we work our legs, and hence a lot more testosterone production. And finally, guys, don't overtrain. More is not always better, okay? You have to listen to your bodies, especially you beginners out there, guys. Man, you'll know it. You'll get so sore. Now, being sore doesn't mean you should stop working out altogether. It's called delayed onset muscle soreness. It's referred to as DOMS. So, what I like to do is, I'll train lower body one day and then upper body another day. That means, my legs are getting a rest when I'm hitting my upper body. And even though my legs are sore, I'm not working them out. They're still, recovering. Your body is repairing all those damaged muscle fibers. So, guys, listen to your body, okay? Don't work out 7 days a week. Don't push it too hard. Now, most of you guys are not going to suffer from overtraining, to be honest with you. I mean, how many of y'all are going to go into the gym and hit it hard for 2 hours, 7 days a week? Not many. But you got to listen to your body. You have to rest. Matter of fact, it typically takes 2 to 3 days for a muscle to fully recuperate from a good heavy resistance training workout. So that's the rule of thumb, 2 to 3 days before you work that same muscle group again. All right, guys, to wrap it all up and explain how we can increase our testosterone naturally as we age, especially after the age of 50. Hell, I'm 56. First of all, you got to get more sleep, better quality sleep. Secondly, get rid of that belly fat, guys. I know it's hard, but once you start dropping the belly fat, it actually gets easier and easier. And then third and final, you got to strength train, guys. You got to hit those muscles. You really have to exercise hard. All right. Hope you guys liked this video. Be sure and subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to do that. And then hit that little up button, the little thumbs up button right below here. Give us a like, post comments. And then if you think this would be beneficial for some of your friends out there, be sure and share the video. And guys, remember, you always have to stick with it and never give up on yourself.